Welcome to Cheating Story Tales. Before we dive into today's story, we have a humble request. Please consider subscribing to this new channel. Help us hit our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers. Your support will motivate us to keep bringing you more exclusive original cheating wife stories. And now, let's get started with today's story. My wife recently asked me for permission to sleep with someone she knows from work. She told me that if I allow her to do this, she would give me a free pass to sleep with any woman of my choice. Now I'm left wondering what to do. Our marriage hasn't been very long, but until now, it has been a happy one. We've had minor arguments here and there, like any couple, but nothing out of the ordinary. We never discussed the idea of an open marriage or sharing each other with anyone else. These were things that didn't even cross my mind. A few days ago, out of the blue, my wife came to me with a question. She asked, "If you had the chance to sleep with another woman, would you take it?" I didn't hesitate to respond. "No, you're all I need." I expected her to feel reassured or happy with my answer, but instead she rolled her eyes and seemed annoyed. Her reaction surprised me. I asked her why my response upset her, but she brushed it off. Then she said, "Honestly, isn't that a little boring?" I was taken aback, but stayed firm. "No," I said, "I don't need anyone else but you." After some back and forth, she finally revealed the real reason behind her question. She admitted that there's someone at her workplace she finds very attractive and has been thinking about being intimate with him. I was stunned. I asked her directly, "Have you talked to him about this? Have you two done anything yet?" She denied it and claimed nothing had happened so far. The conversation ended there, but something felt off. I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't being completely honest. Later, I decided to check her phone, and what I found shook me to my core. There were several explicit photos on her phone, pictures she had never sent to me. When I confronted her, she admitted that she had been sending those photos to her coworker. She also confessed that they had been sexting for a while now. Then she dropped another bombshell. She wanted my permission to meet him in person. She even laid out the rules for this arrangement. She said they would meet no more than 5 times, it would only be about sex, and there would be no emotional attachment. She also reiterated that I could sleep with someone else if I wanted to. I was speechless. This was completely out of character for her. She had always been reserved and even avoided talking to other men unless necessary. Now, she was openly admitting that she found this man incredibly attractive and didn't want to miss the opportunity to experience being with someone like him. She said, "This is just something I need to try. If I don't, I'll regret it forever." She even went on to say that he was better equipped than anyone she had ever seen, but she assured me that his personality was awful, so it would never go beyond sex. According to her, this was purely a physical experience she wanted to have. Hearing all this, I felt like the foundation of our marriage had been shattered. I had always believed that she was completely happy with me, both emotionally and physically. Now it seemed like I wasn't enough for her. She repeatedly said, "I know it's selfish, but it's just a one-time thing. I'll never do it again." She kept trying to justify it, saying, "If you don't want to take your free pass, that's fine. But I'll feel awful if I don't get to try this." She even offered to find someone for me to sleep with, to make it fair. I told her I needed time to think about it. I wasn't sure what to say or how to process everything. Now I'm stuck. Should I try to go along with this and see where it leads? Should I end the marriage? I genuinely love her, and I know she loves me too. But this situation has left me questioning everything. What would you do in my place? Update 1: last night, I decided to have a serious conversation with my wife about this situation and the future of our marriage. I started by telling her that I wasn't going to use the free pass she offered me. This made her visibly upset and quite angry. I questioned why she would be so bothered by my refusal to sleep with someone else. She explained that it was immature and petty of me not to take the opportunity, claiming that all her male friends and the people she knows would have taken advantage of it. She went on to say that she thought I was refusing simply to prove that I was better than her, and that I didn't need other women to feel satisfied. I explained that I wasn't taking the pass because I truly love her and enjoy being with her. Even if I wasn't completely satisfied sexually, I wouldn't look elsewhere. Her response was that it wasn't fair to her. She argued that I've had plenty of experiences before our marriage, while she feels like she's missed out. She claimed it was only right for her to be able to explore this since I already had my fair share of experiences. I then asked her about the guy from work. I wanted to know how she knew so much about him and his qualities. After over 30 minutes of questioning, she finally admitted that she had been talking to him about meeting up, but insisted that nothing physical had happened yet. When I asked if they had planned to meet, she confessed that they were aiming for this weekend, depending on the outcome of our discussion. She said she would feel really bad about going through with it, but didn't want to cancel her plans. I told her that, at the very least, I wanted to meet this guy. She reluctantly agreed to bring him around at some point before they met, sensing how upset I was. She tried to reassure me by saying, "You might actually enjoy this. We're just trying something new." She even brought up the fact that we've experimented with cuckold roleplay before, suggesting that this could be an extension of that. She offered to record a video for me if it was something I ended up liking. I told her I wasn't sure, and that she might be right, but I'd only know after it happened. I explained that if I felt upset or not at all comfortable afterward, I wouldn't approve of her seeing him again. She said she understood. That night we had really intense sex, and since then, she's been extra affectionate. This morning, I woke up to a full breakfast and a massage. I can tell she genuinely cares about me and wants me to be happy. So here's the arrangement now. She will meet with him once. If I feel okay with it after, we'll discuss whether it can continue. If I don't, it ends there. If she can't break things off with him, we'll go to counseling and potentially prepare for the worst. Update 2. Last weekend, my wife finally met with her coworker. I won't go into all the details, but they had a lot of sex and spent significant time together afterward. I tried to have a conversation with her about boundaries after their meetup, but she got upset quickly. She said I had no right to tell two consenting adults what they could or couldn't do. This response caught me off guard, considering the arrangement we had agreed on. Right now, I'm feeling more conflicted than ever. While I want to believe this could work as a one-time experience, her defensive attitude and dismissiveness about my feelings make me question everything. I'm unsure where we go from here. I was trying to feel better about letting her sleep with him, but even then, the thought of it left a bad taste in my mouth. Despite my efforts, being with her after that felt unsettling. Later, I asked if I could be present the next time they met. She said she didn't have a problem with it, but would need to ask her coworker. A few days later, she told me he wasn't comfortable with me being there, so I wasn't allowed to go. I started questioning whether open or poly relationships normally have such poorly defined boundaries. The events of the past weekend confirmed my worst fears. She left Saturday morning without a care in the world, taking some pictures of herself for him before she left. She didn't even bother kissing me goodbye and said she'd be back that night. Night turned into morning, and she still hadn't returned. When she finally got home, she casually mentioned that she decided to stay the night at his place without asking or even informing me. As if that wasn't enough, she then told me she had invited one of her friends to join them, and the three of them had slept together. She didn't even think to ask me beforehand. When she told me this, I was visibly upset, but she laughed it off, saying, "Get over it. It's not manly to act this way." That was the breaking point for me. It was clear she no longer cared about my feelings. No spouse would say something like that to their partner if they truly cared. I was stunned. How did we get here? Was there ever a point in our marriage where I could have seen this coming? She had always been the most loving, caring person I had ever met. But after meeting this guy, it felt like she had become a completely different person. I didn't realize someone could change so much, so quickly. I'm 99% certain she's now dating him. She spent almost every weekend with him and even talks about him openly around me. One night I told her that if she didn't at least set some boundaries, I would leave. She just shrugged, laughed, and didn't even bother to respond. That was it for me. I packed a bag and booked a room at a nearby hotel. Later, I told my brother about the situation, and he offered to let me stay with him for a while. I moved in with him that night. While I was at the hotel, she kept texting me, confused and upset about why I had left. She said she missed me and wanted me to come back. But I knew I couldn't return to that toxic environment. Eventually, I had to go back to the house to get more of my belongings, so my brother came with me for support. When we got there, my wife tried to talk to me, but I ignored her. She kept grabbing my arm and wouldn't let me leave. My brother had to step in, separate us, and tell her that if she didn't stop, he would call the police. She finally backed off, and since then, I haven't heard from her. This situation has completely broken me. I tried to let her do what she wanted, hoping it would make her happy, but in the process, I lost myself. I never wanted this. I just wanted to make her happy, but it wasn't worth sacrificing my peace and dignity. In the beginning, I tried to make myself into someone who could make her happy. Before our marriage, I never saw any signs or red flags that she was capable of being so manipulative and cruel. I don't know where this behavior came from, but it has completely changed my perspective on life and relationships. She used to be the most thoughtful and amazing person I'd ever met, but now I feel like I don't know who she is anymore. This whole situation has left me questioning everything. What's the next step in dealing with my wife? How do I explain this to my family and friends? And, in the future, when I'm ready to date again, how do I ensure I don't end up in a similar situation? Update 4. Last week, I left her and moved in with my brother. After having conversations with him and reading many comments, I thought it might be a good idea to go back to the house temporarily, at least to ensure I wouldn't lose everything during the divorce process. I decided to return, with my brother accompanying me for support. When we got to the house, my wife tried to talk to me and grab my arm to stop me from moving around. I ignored her completely, acting like she wasn't even there. She started hitting my chest in frustration. Finally, I had to push her away, and my brother warned her that if she didn't leave me alone, he would call the police. She eventually backed off and left the room. Later that night, I didn't hear from her. But the next day, I received a photo of her with a new coworker. It was just a casual selfie of the two of them together, with no accompanying message. I showed the picture to my brother, and his reaction summed it up. She's lost her mind if she thinks this is okay. Eventually, I met with a divorce attorney. The initial consultation went well, and they gave me clear advice on how to prepare for the divorce. They told me the photos and videos I had could be valuable evidence, but the challenge was that she might claim everything was consensual, even though her behavior was manipulative. After speaking with the lawyer, my brother and I decided it was time to sit down with my parents and tell them everything that had been happening. At first, they were shocked and couldn't believe what they were hearing. My brother supported me and confirmed that everything I said was true. They wanted to confront her directly, but I told them the next step was to involve her parents. I debated for a while about whether it was my place to tell her parents, but in the end, I decided it was necessary. If I didn't tell them, I feared she might twist the story and lie to them about me. I arranged a time to meet her parents at their home. After some small talk to ease into the conversation, I finally gathered the courage to tell them what had been going on. Their reactions were a mix of disbelief and disgust. They couldn't believe their daughter had done something like this. They admitted they had never seen this side of her before. To my surprise, they didn't blame me. They understood that I had done everything I could to make her happy and that I truly loved her. Before I left, they hugged me and assured me they would handle their side of things. Tears filled their eyes as her parents listened to everything I told them. They understood that divorcing her was the last thing I wanted to do, but they also realized that I had no choice left at this point. That weekend, I spent most of my time talking to my lawyer and relaxing at home with my brother, trying to process everything. Saturday night came, and I received a message from my wife saying she was coming over. I replied, telling her she wasn't welcome here right now, but she didn't listen. About 20 minutes later, she showed up anyway. At that point, I felt like I had no real choice but to talk to her. She started by saying that she had been speaking to her parents and that they had told her about the divorce. I was furious. I had hoped they wouldn't mention it because I hadn't even told her yet. I had planned to handle everything through my lawyer and wasn't going to tell her in person. She accused me of being childish and not a real man for going to her parents before talking to her. I explained that I no longer felt comfortable speaking to her directly because of all the manipulation she had already pulled. I told her I went to her parents first because I knew she would lie to them and blame everything on me if I didn't. She kept pressing me, asking if it was true that I had filed for divorce. I confirmed that it was. At that point, she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably for about 15 minutes without saying a word. When she finally calmed down, she asked me why I was doing this and why I hadn't told her directly. I explained that throughout this entire situation, she had been extremely manipulative and treated me like I didn't matter. I reminded her of how she had humiliated me with her actions, particularly with her coworker. She promised that if I took her back, she would stop everything, but I told her I couldn't do it. Eventually, she left. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages and missed calls from her. Most of them were long texts and voicemails filled with apologies and declarations of love. Listening to them broke my heart because it reminded me of our past and how much I had loved her. I cried uncontrollably for hours, but I kept reminding myself of what she had done to me in the past few weeks. I also started receiving messages from her friends, many of whom were blaming me and telling me I should take her back. Some of the messages were outright abusive, accusing me of being wrong for involving her parents. They said I was being unfair to her and that her parents were the only ones she had left. The past few days have been emotionally overwhelming. I can't believe how crazy everything has gotten. What surprises me most is that her parents are on my side. While I feel bad for involving them, I'm relieved they understand my perspective and support me. Meanwhile, her friends continue to attack me and even send threats. As for my wife, I haven't heard from her since the long messages and voicemails she sent. I'm guessing she's either staying with her coworker or one of her friends since her parents are against her at the moment. I'm surprised that I've been able to stand so firmly against her, and I hope I can continue to stay strong. This weekend was a significant turning point for me. It showed me that I have the strength to stand up to her and make decisions for my own well-being. Thank you to everyone for your concern and for all the supportive messages. I'll do my best to keep everyone updated if there are any major developments. Goodbye for now.